Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Conquerors Crew. And I have such a cool guest on today. I cannot wait to talk to her. She is one of the people that has done what we all do and has sold all her stuff and followed her dreams. I cannot wait to talk to Alison. But first, before we do that, guys, um, let's see. We're going to, first time today, we should be live on Instagram as well. So that's super cool. And, I've been doing the podcast over a year now. And, look, you guys have never seen this before. I got the boom. Like, I know I'm big time now. And, so a lot of cool change today. Happy to celebrate that with Allison. And, guys, so if you haven't, please like, subscribe, comment. Okay. Bring a friend next week. And for the always helps. Okay. And all right. I got to go through our three pillars real quick for those of you guys that are new and for those of you guys that are here every week. I know it's hump day. It's the middle of the week. And you probably need a reminder about one of them. So let me get into it. Hope. Okay. Hope is for us at Congress Group helping other people excel. And we like to spread our hope around. And if you need a little bit, we can give you some. And if you have a little bit extra to share, pipe up and share it with others. And that's what we love about hope. The next one is grit. And for us, the G stands for grace. And the grace I'm talking about is not the grace that you give somebody else when they make a mistake. I'm talking about having a little grace with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, right? That's the kind of reminder about grace. The next one is resilience. And, if you know my story, I've had cancer 3 times, terminal, everything, the hip cancer left me handicapped. And people always say, I never could have the resilience you have. Yes, you can. All those human beings, we are amazing creatures and we rise to the occasion. And don't expect to run an Ironman the first time you need a little bit of grit resilience, okay? It's like anything else. We all inherently have some skills and we have to work at it to get a little better at it. The next thing is integrity. And again, kind of like grace, I'm not talking about the kind of integrity when you point out to somebody, you're not following rules, you're making a mistake. I'm talking about the kind of integrity that at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you look in the mirror because you're up all night worried about something, that you have some integrity with yourself when you look in the mirror. Like I had to do when I had terminal pancreatic cancer, going like, dude, you better make some changes or you're not going to make it, right? And the last one is teachable. Always be teachable. It seems like the further I get in life, the more I learn, the more I know I don't know. And when you get cocky on your high horse, man, needs no definition, hope, grit, and no quit. Those are 3 pillars. Thank you for listening, Allison. Hey, guys, awesome guest today. We have Alison
Gieschen.
Gieschen, and from her sailboat, literally, you can see that she's like sitting downstairs in it. And I mean, this is just, hey, first
Okay, I lost you for a minute, so if you ask me a question, you're gonna have to repeat it.
You know what? Hey, it dropped out just a little bit. Can you just give me the last bit of that if you don't mind? And hey, it's all good. I not gonna worry about it. Just hit me again with it,
So my name, the pronunciation of my name,
please.
Gieschen.
Gieschen. I think I said Gieschen or something. My bad. Yeah. Sorry
It's
about that.
okay.
Yeah. So hey, how was your day? How was your week? Did any of the pillars kind of resonate with you at all?
Um, Definitely the part about grit, about not giving up, because there are definitely times when I wanted to,
Yeah.
and um, this has definitely been a journey of resilience and grit. Um, we've had more things go wrong in 8 years than I can even begin to tell you. And it just seems like when we've come to an end and there's no hope, it's only through hanging on and having faith and persevering that we are out here, because a lot of people would have given up by this point.
I love that. That is so cool. I know that people want to know about like selling around the world and all that stuff. Um, but I want to ask you a little bit about beforehand, right? Because you guys live on the boat and you've done that for over 15 years, right? Is that
No, just 8.
Oh, okay, just 8. I don't know where I got 15 from. There's got to be 15 somewhere that I read in our notes and things. But 8, holy smokes. So, you sold like all your stuff, sold your house and everything, and you condensed everything down that you own to be on the boat. Is that right?
That is true. That's correct. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Did I glitch on your side at all?
A little bit. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Hey, I apologize. Please, a little patience from your side. Tell us about, selling everything in the house and everything. Let's try that one more time.
Okay. So I was a school teacher, and my husband was a merchant marine at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, and he was working there before we were even married. And I had my 3 kids, and then went back and got a teaching degree so I could be at home during the summers. And then we also had a horse farm, and I had this big equestrian program because I
Wow.
grew up with horses and competing and all that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I was a school teacher for 20 some years. I had a great job, loved it. And then they built a $6 million horse park 6 miles from my house. And I was just flabbergasted. I'm like, what are the odds? So I called them to book an event. I'm like, when can I have an event here? And they're like, well, we don't have anybody to run the place. Anybody who's interested? And I'm like, oh, pick me, pick me. I had a master's in administration and leadership. I had all this equestrian background, and they hired me. What I didn't know was that this was a very corrupt bunch of individuals. And as I started, things didn't add up, and they were very, very abusive to the women who worked there. The 4 of us, they were just horrendous. And it got so abusive and so bad that we actually sued them. And we won.
Whoa.
And hands down, there was no contest. These guys were just like, even the senator who was above them came into the deposition. Is like, yeah, I guess I know these women are telling the truth. And my lawyer is just like flabbergasted. So we won the lawsuit, but I could never go back to teaching again because I made too much money when I left and nobody would hire me. So here I had this year of being traumatized and abused by these men. I lost my teaching career, and I just went into a state of depression. And my husband I was in a tailspin, and my husband couldn't stand looking at me every day and just crying and in despair. And he just looked at me one day and he goes, it's time. And I said, time for what? He goes, we're going to do it. We're going to make a 5-year plan. We're going to buy our boat. We're going to sell everything, and we're going to sail around the world. And we did.
Right. Right. Wow. That's tough.
Hmm.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just, I'm having a few technical things on my side. And I'm sorry if I, was
Oh,
kind of
no
looking
problem.
down and it's
No.
glitching a bit on my side. It's glitching a bit on my side, but hey, you know what? We're just gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. And this is kind of my thought. If it gets a little worse, I'm just gonna shut down the Instagram because, that's the only thing I can think that's new that could be the possible problem. So we're just gonna keep on rocking, okay? Hey,
Okay.
this is live. This is live. This is how it goes. I don't hide
Okay.
anything, and this is life, right? And
Right.
so, hey, people get to get to see that. You know what? We we do what we say, and we actually do have patience a bit more than normal when it's not going too cool because this kind of sucks. But anyway, okay. Um, right. So little recap that you were teacher and you also had a horse farm and they built a huge equestrian farm 6 miles from your house. Unbelievable. You eventually began working for them, but it was toxic, and you sued them and won. But from what I gathered, it wasn't contentment. It just, you weren't happy, right? And and it was like, well, you know what? The heck with this. We're kind of done with this. We always wanted to sell around the world, and so we're going to sell everything, and we are going to do that.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Now there was something in there about 5 years. It was a 5-year plan.
Hmm.
5 years to sell to kind of wind down to sell everything to get the sailboat and launch off. Right? Is that right?
Right. So we did a lot of education. You do not want to head off to sail around the world without a lot of education. And to do that, you have to travel to boat shows, and boat shows are all over the country. So we'd have to get, a weekend to fly down to Florida, to fly out to San Francisco, to fly wherever. And we'd attend training seminars and workshops and listen to speakers and talk to real people who had done it and been out there. And that's how we, found the brand of boat we wanted to buy and what equipment we needed and what training we needed to have.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think people realize that part of the thing, right? I mean, you literally are in life and death situations, probably almost daily when you're out, right?
Oh
And
gosh,
hey,
yes.
one little thing, right? One little thing, and it could be over Red Rover,
I
and
mean,
that's
there's a
that.
lot of big things. It's not little things. It's the big things. It's definitely
Fair
more than once
enough.
I
Fair
questioned
enough.
whether or not we were gonna, we were gonna survive. There's been definite moments where wasn't so sure.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Um, you know, before in the process of selling everything, we were talking about like major life events and things like that a little bit before the show, and you had a notable meltdown, if you will, about getting rid of all your stuff
No,
and
the meltdown
consolidating
was over.
down to
The meltdown
yeah. Go ahead.
wasn't about getting rid of the stuff. It was about losing my identity with my, what I
Oh,
had been doing all my life. It was,
right.
I just felt
Yeah.
hopeless.
How did you kind of realize that that was happening, and how did you deal with it?
Well, I tried applying in other school districts, and they're like, you're a great candidate, but sorry, we can't afford you. Um, so I substitute taught, and I got treated like crap. And I personally always was very kind to my substitutes, but when you go in other school districts, and a 20-year veteran teacher, I'd walk in and they would just like thumb their noses at me, and it was really humiliating. It was just like you
Right.
know so I
Yeah.
didn't even want to substitute teach, and I had scaled down my writing program because my daughter got married and moved to California, and she was the whole reason why I had it. So I was missing my daughter, I was missing my career, and I woke up every day and wanted to cry.
Oh yeah. I've been through a couple of things like that with depression, with owning my own business and stuff. It's really a tough spot to be. Um, just briefly, like, what did you do to get yourself out of that situation? That's what we want the listeners to go like, I'm in it right now. Oh my gosh. What kind of, can you give us a few tips, tools that helped you?
Yeah, I had definitely, the day that he said to me, "It's time," and he explained what we're going to do, I snapped out of it. It was gone. You got to give yourself a new perspective on life, a new attitude, and a new game plan. Having a game plan is so important. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to change my perspective or I'm going to change my life. It has to be concrete. So we wrote down our what we needed to accomplish and how we were going to do it. And from then on, I was able to focus. I was able to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do today, and I'm excited about it. So, yeah.
And that's even comparable to what I do with what I did with my cancer journey, and what I teach, and help people that I walk with their cancer journey. We break it down into little things, and you know what? It's all about today. It's just
Yeah.
about what is the play today, and let's try to win today. And if we do, great, and if we don't, It's okay because you're not going to win every day. You don't win every game. And okay, how do we fix that? And try not to do that again tomorrow, right? So
Yep.
I love that. That's great advice. It's you know what? A lot of it is just it's simple and we know it, but it depends on how it's delivered to us and how we hear it. And I think that's great. It's just a reminder that big huge project, but we broke it down into little pieces, and that probably helps you with the overwhelm and the looking way out there and it being an impossible thing. And you're like, hey, I can do this part today. I'm just going to do this
Yep.
part today, right? Um, any other tips or tools that you have off the top of your head that may be helpful?
It's just looking forward and not looking back, because as soon as you start looking back, then you kind of, remember and feel the misery and the pain. And I looked at moving forward as like a ladder, and I was climbing that ladder. And every day was my objective to get to the next run. What can I accomplish today? How can I move up a rung on my list to get us where we need to be? And as long as you're active and you're engaged and you have something to work toward, then there's no time for the remembering the bad stuff or pitying yourself. Oh my gosh, poor me, look what I've been through. You just look up that ladder, and you keep moving up those rungs.
I love it. I love it. I love the analogy. Yeah. Hey, you just keep climbing, right? To get to the top, whatever
There's
your top may
sunshine at
be.
the top.
Cool. Cool. So, tell us, is there anything else that you think people should know that we don't know about preparing to purchase a boat? And your goal was to sail around the world
Mhm.
or to live on the boat like long term as well?
Well, the first goal was just to get around the world, and I gave my husband 10 years. I have children and grandchildren, right? And I'm like, I don't want to be out at sea forever. Like, can we do this in 10 years, please, honey? And yeah, that went out the window real fast. Like, we have never been one place when we thought we were going to be there. He mapped out exactly where we were going to go. But, for instance, we got to Ireland and COVID hit, and we got stuck in Ireland for 2 years. So,
Whoa. Whoa.
yes.
Tell us about that. What happened there? 2 whole years.
Well, it was the first time in 2,000 years all the pubs were closed. It was horrible. No, just kidding. Um,
God.
what happened was they put a restriction on boats sailing into other countries during COVID. And I think they did that for cruise ships because they didn't want cruise ships full of people contaminating. But as two people on a sailboat that are out to sea for days and weeks at a time, it was a really stupid rule.
Oh,
And we know some people that just, threw that out the window and went anyway. And my husband, being the merchant marine and the Boy Eagle Scout and all that kind of stuff, he didn't want to break any rules.
yeah.
We did go get to sail around the Scottish Isles for a couple months. So we did get out, and we flew home twice to visit our kids. And two of our kids came and visited us, and we rented a car and drove all the way around Ireland. And it was amazing because there was no tourist attractions with people. It was just, we had all of Ireland to ourselves. So we found the magic in it and beauty in it. But we just knew that timelines were not a thing anymore. We were just not
Yeah.
going to worry about
Yeah.
them.
That is so cool. That's really awesome. I've backpacked around Ireland and all of Great Britain as well. And God, Ireland, yeah, really neat country, neat place. The people are so, yeah, they
So
make it,
nice.
don't they? They're cool. They're cool. And we like the accent, and you're probably not into MMA fighting and stuff like that. But Conor McGregor, the most famous MMA fighter, he's from Ireland, and he just recently we had a fight last weekend that didn't go so well. It kind of sucks, but
Oh,
it, yeah. Anyways, we're not here to talk about MMA. Um, Goodness gracious. So, like this 2 years, for example, did you guys like basically like have to stay on the boat? And was your boat kind of like in the same port and slip that entire time?
yes, it was in the same slip up in Bangor, which is Northern Ireland, but we got to go house it down in Bantry, which is in Southern Ireland, for a house, actually a mansion like Downton Abbey that was built by the governor of the Falkland Islands. And his son inherited it when his dad died, but he worked half the time in Australia and half the time in Ireland. And when COVID hit, he was stuck in Australia. And he had a dog and a cat that lived in this mansion that had to be taken care of. And he was a sailor, so through the sailing community, he found out, hey, there's two Americans that are stranded up, north. I bet if you ask them, they'd come down and house it. So basically, we were like in Downton Abbey for like 4 or 5 months with big fireplaces and the back stairs going up to the old quarters where the help sat, and we just had this whole mansion and 200 acres, and all we had to do was walk the dog twice a day along the coastline. So 200 acres, and it was magical. It was just, I don't know, it was just something that I just could never imagine happening, but that's what this journey is all about. We haven't imagined anything that we've experienced. We can't anticipate it. You can't think of these things. Like I can give you an example right here. We just went up to an excursion on these. We're in an atoll in French Polynesia, and these atolls are out in the middle of nowhere. And these indigenous people, live here. And right across on one of these little sections is the Garden of Eden, where people came in the 1930s and they made it self-sufficient through, bringing in things. And we just went and had a tour, and it's like stepping back just, decades, and it was just absolutely magical. And I could never imagine that or expect to experience it, and it's just incredible.
Wow. I mean, this is so cool. I'm just curious, like where are you guys right now, did you say?
We are in French Polynesia, but we're in the Tuamatus, which are these atolls, which are just basically rings in the sand left over from when the volcanoes went down. And they're really hard to get in and out of because they have these little inlets, and the ocean water and the water from the middle of the atoll flood in and out with the tides, and sometimes they turn into these raging rivers with standing waves. So we've had our boat like at full power, 75 horsepower is going, and like going 1 knot trying to get in against these waves crashing, and it's been like horrifyingly scary. But once you get in here, you're in paradise. You're just stunned by the beauty and the raw,
right. Okay.
the rawness
Just
of it.
kind of roughly geographically. I lived in New Zealand for about 17 years. Um, been to Tonga, been to Rarotonga, which Rarotonga has has kind of one of those reefs literally naturally around the entire island, and so the waves break way out, and
Right.
you can snorkel and stuff in between, and
In
oh man,
between.
it is just the neatest thing. And you can drive around, you can scooter around the whole island in like 40 minutes or something like that. Is it kind of like, is that kind of like what you're talking about with the atolls and French
Yeah, except
Polynesia?
there's
Can you
nothing in the
just give
middle
us a
though.
rough idea kind of where that is in relation to, New Zealand and golly, I guess Hawaii would be the next kind of thing people would know, or yeah.
Okay, so once you leave the coast, the west coast, you've got Hawaii first, and
Okay.
then south of that and more west of that is Tahiti, and just south of Tahiti are the Tuamatus and the Marquesa Islands.
Okay.
So when we sailed here, we came from Panama. So we crossed through the Panama Canal, and we went 4,000 miles straight across out from Panama Canal, and we dead ran into the Marquesas Islands. So it's the Marquesas, the Tuamatus, Tahiti, and then Hawaii.
Okay. Wow, super cool. Okay. Tell us what it's like going through the Panama Canal. I mean, I'm mind blown right now.
Oh, my granddaddy was there with the military defending the Panama Canal, and he was on top of a train because the local rebellion was trying to stop the local people. And so he was on the top of the train with his gun, and he's riding along, and somebody shot him right in the chest, right at the heart. And he was wearing a medal of honor for saving somebody else's life, and the bullet bounced off that medal, and he did not get hurt because of that medal. He saved somebody else's life. So as we're crossing through the canal and just witnessing this feat of human ingenuity, and millions of gallons of water flooding these giant locks, and the sound and the sights, and it was just um, awe-inspiring, terrifying, and exciting all at the same time. Um, and you go through lock system, and then you get to a lake that's in the middle, Lake Gatun, and that's where all the water that feeds the canal comes in and out of. And then we had to motor for 6 hours to get across that lake, and you just feel like you're kind of like, if you can just picture like an oasis up in the sky, like you just feel like you're like out of this world and like a different experience, because then you go through the lake and then you go back down. You're going you're basically going up the height of a mountain. The
Okay.
lake is at the top of the mountain, and then you're going down the height of the mountain. So it's really hard to describe. But we have a YouTube channel called Sailing Equus, and there's actually a video of us transiting the Panama Canal. So if you want to see firsthand what it's like, you can go see the video.
That's awesome. You know what? I think you did a really good job explaining it. It makes sense to me that you kind of stepped up, and there's this body of water that's extremely
It's the lake in
elevated.
the sky, yes.
Yeah, right. And then do you kind of step down to get to the other side
Yes.
through locks?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How long did that take you guys to do that? And I mean, did you have to pay a lot of money to go through and like wait your turn in a little sailboat?
Yes. We signed up 4 months in advance.
Okay.
You have to pay all kinds of fees. You have to have a person on the boat from the country, a person that guides you through. And you have to have 4 crew members to handle all of the lines when you're going through the lock. So my sister flew in to be one of our line handlers, and then we got a couple of friends, and then I was a line handler, and then Dan, was the captain, and he sat with the guy that tells you what you have to do and when you have to do it.
Wow. Amazing.
So and like we had a time to go in, and we went out at like 1:30 in the afternoon, and we thought maybe in an hour or two we would go through the lock, but we didn't go through until dark because ships were late, things happen. So there are rough time schedules, but if you're really lucky and you're one of the boats that goes in at 5 a.m. in the morning, you could actually get through the end by the end of that day. But we went in the first set of locks at night, and then we had to spend the night at this giant buoy in Lake Gatun, and then the next morning we sailed through the lake and went down and got in at nightfall the next day. We pulled into the harbor, the marine that's on the other side of the lock, at dark the next day. So it was 24 hours for us.
Wow, that's crazy. So how far around the world on the trip are you guys at this point? Or is it like, this is our life, we love this is what we're doing?
Well, we don't have any like preconceived notions as to what's going to happen or when it's going to happen, because there's just no point. I mean, we could die tomorrow. Why plan it? We've never been anywhere even close to when we thought we were going to be there. So we have no expectations for anything in our future about, other than waking up this morning and doing what we need to do today. But we started on the East Coast of the United States. We went to we tried to go to the Caribbean, but we got caught in the perfect storm and had $14,000 worth of damage to our boat and had to turn around and go back. So after we got everything repaired, we set off and did a closer destination, which was the Bahamas. So we went to the Bahamas, and then from there we eventually made it to the Caribbean, and then from the Caribbean to Bermuda, then the Azores to Ireland. And then Ireland, we waited to go into the Baltic, but it never opened up because of the COVID restrictions, and we weren't going to wait a third season. So we went down on the coast of Europe and went into through the Straits of Gibraltar, and we did the Mediterranean for 2 sailing seasons. Then we came out, we went to Morocco, and we did some of Africa, and then we went to the Canary Islands, and then we intended on crossing the Atlantic from there, but then our autopilot went. So we made an emergency landing in Cape Verde, and we were stuck there for 3 months waiting for an autopilot. So we left Cape Verde and we headed to the Caribbean again. And this time we hit the ABCs. So we went to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And from Curacao, we headed off to South America and went up South America and went through the Panama Canal. And from the Panama Canal, we made it to the Marquesas and through that's where we are today. So you could say we're about halfway around, because from here we'll
Wow.
go to Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, and then up into Thailand. And then I don't know what's going to happen after that. Well, depends on the political climate and if we can go into the Red Sea, or if we have to go back around Africa. And if we go back down around Africa, we'll essentially have been around the world at that point.
Wow. Thanks for kind of, giving us the high points of where you guys have been. That's really cool. That's really helpful. Couple of questions. Is an autopilot, is that like a piece of kit that you use to help the boat, like to guide it, like when your husband isn't like being the driver, so to speak?
It's like an airplane. The pilots don't sit there and fly the planes anymore unless you're on a really tiny airplane. Every airplane has an autopilot, and that steers the airplane. And every boat has, well, I may think there might be some people out here without autopilots, but I have not met any personally. Everybody has an autopilot on their boat, because you're sailing, crossing, doing overnight crossings. You've got to have a big crew if you're going to hand steer that entire time, because you can take 2-3 hour shifts. I mean, it's not easy sailing a boat through 10-foot, 12-foot waves and 25-knot winds. It's physically exhausting.
Wow.
So the autopilot does that. It steers your ship. You give it the course, and come hell or high water, man, it's going to keep you going the speed you want, the direction you want, and take care of you. And like
Cool.
I pointed out, that we got a brand new autopilot because ours failed, and we weren't going to try to cross the 18-day crossing across the Atlantic without it. And we were halfway across the Pacific, which was 4,000 miles, and we got taken out by a Chinese fishing net, and we lost our autopilot with 680 miles to go.
That last bit broke up a little bit. You said you guys got taken out by something.
The remnants of a Chinese fishing net. The Chinese fishing fleets are the scourge of the Pacific. They rape the oceans, and they cut away pieces of their nets. And one of them, in the middle of the night, got tangled in our rudder, and we went from doing 8 or 9 knots to just a halt in thousands of feet of water. And we knew something was horribly wrong, and our autopilot starts beeping and alarms are going off. And Dan's like, oh, we got to heave to. Heaving to is when you turn into the wind and you leave one sail on one side and one sail on the other, and the boat just stays turned into the wind, and it makes you just ride over the waves, and that calms everything down. So we hove to, and the next morning he tried the autopilot again, and nothing. And like I said, we were 680 miles from our destination, and it also took out our steering. So at this point, we were in really big trouble. Thank God my husband is like MacGyver, and he saved us from sinking with a paperclip twice. And he tore apart the boat, took the binnacle off, all the compasses, all the equipment, and went down through the steering columns. And he found that the whole thing had been loosened, and he got this big equipment in there. It took 2 of us in these rocking waves, and blood on our knuckles, and we're getting banged up, and we got it tightened. So we're like, well, thank God we have our steering. At least we don't have to get rescued at sea. And because we were calling people, going like, "Is anybody? Could they rescue us this far out?" They're like, "No."
Oh,
So
that's gotta be scary.
we got the steering fixed, and then started the boat, and the autopilot was a no-go. And Dan's like, we're gonna have to hand steer, and I'm like crying, going, I can't do this. And I would get up there and I would start steering, and I would get the boat slightly off, coming down a wave, and get turned sideways. The entire boat would go like, and roll
like
front
in
and
a
side,
roller.
and I'm freaking out. And he wouldn't come. He's like, no, you did this. You get yourself out of it. And I'm like, okay. And then just I could do 30 minutes at a time, and he did 3 hours at a time. So he did 3 hours, and I'd do 30 minutes, and 3 hours and 30 minutes, and then we would heave to every night. And so we did that, and we made it.
Gosh, would you say that that's been like the most challenging, like crazy thing that's happened on the trip?
Second.
Oh, do you want to share the first one?
Well, the first one was what I told you. We got caught in the perfect storm.
Okay.
It was our very first Atlantic crossing, and we were working with a weather router, and he said, you have 24 hours to get across the Gulf Stream, and then the what's going to hit the fan, and you're going to have bad weather for 10 days if you don't leave right now. So we trusted him, and we got across the Gulf Stream just fine. It was an overnight sail, and I was at the helm, and the sun was coming up over the horizon, and I'd gone up there at 4:30 for my watch. and the autopilot's on, so I wasn't hand steering. You're just supervising. You have somebody awake all night. And when the sun came up over the horizon, I see this giant wave rolling towards the boat, and I'm like horrified. And the boat went up, and it went right over the wave, and then went down. It was like nice and smooth, and I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, was that just a rogue wave? But then the second wave started coming. I'm like, this is just how big the waves were. I couldn't see them because it was dark. So I'm pounding my foot on the floor because our bed is like right under the cockpit floor, and I'm like, Dan, you gotta come up here. And he comes up, and I'm like, look at the size of these waves. And I'm like, I can't handle this. I'm sorry. I know you just went to bed, but I can't handle it. So I went down. And what happened was there was a front behind us and a front in front of us. And it was compressing the waves, and they were getting bigger and bigger. And the wind was building. And it was just one of those perfect storm scenarios, like the movie The Perfect Storm.
Yeah.
So the waves were like 18, 20 feet. And about every third wave was now crashing on the deck of our boat. And our dinghy was up front, and it was tied to our mast. And it had our scuba gear, all this stuff in it. Well, it got washed through the lifelines. So it's now dangling on the side of our boat, but it's still tied to the mast. So it was threatening to demast our boat. We lost our mast. It would have been game over. And so Dan had to put on the lifeline, the tethers, and go up onto the bow of the boat and try to cut this thing free. And when he cut it free, and I saw how quickly that boat disappeared in those waves, like, if he goes over, I'm just jumping in with him, because I'm not going to be on this boat. I'd rather die with him than be here on the deck right now. So he got it cut free. We also lost a solar panel. We lost a titanium whisker pole. We lost his windsurfer. We lost everything that was on the deck tied down. Everything was gone. And then our anchor came loose and started pounding against the hull, and it was getting ready to put a hole in the hull. So we had to go back up a second time. And we had heaved too, so we were turned into the wind. But when the boat went up over the 18-foot waves and dropped down the other side, he would actually get airborne off the deck because he was all the way up on the bow. So his feet would come off the deck. And he had to try to repair and get that tightened against the hull before we could move. So the second time, I'm like going, oh God, don't fall in. Just stay on. So it was horrible. We got everything back under control. And, the boat was actually doing really well. God bless her old soul. And we made a phone call with our sat phone at the time, because we didn't have Starlink at that point. Just had this real sketchy phone that kept dropping out. And we got a hold of somebody, and he said, you have to get off the Atlantic now. We're like, but we could get down to I guess the Bahamas in 2 days. He goes, you have to get off the Atlantic now. So Dan's like, what do you want to do? It's like, we had been out for 2 days, and he's like, it's another couple 100 miles to get back to shore. I'm like, we gotta go. If they said we have to get off, we have to get off. So he's like, okay. So we tacked, he changed directions, we headed off. And the moment we did, the clouds parted, and the sun came out, and the waves went down, the wind went down, and a pod of dolphins came and surrounded our boat, and they started jumping and leaping out of the water and just like joyfully playing. And I'm like, well, if that's not a slap in the face sign, I don't know what is. Like, this is the right decision. So we did 5 days, 800 miles, and ended up 10 miles from where we started.
Wow. Is that part of the reason that you guys came back to the Caribbean? Because I noticed that you had done that twice.
Yeah, that'd be why.
Okay. It makes sense. Is the longest time that you guys would be out at sea, like that 18-day that you would have crossing the Atlantic, would that kind of be the longest?
No, the
Okay.
crossing the Pacific was a much longer crossing. That was 28 days.
Wow. How do you personally feel about, being out in Mother Nature, like that for a month at a time? Are you good with it? Do you get anxiety?
It depends. Like the 18-day one across the Atlantic, we were going downwind, and it was such beautiful weather that at some point I said to Dan, how many days have we been out? And he's like, I think it's 12 or something. And I'm like, you lose track of time. And I'm like, I don't care if we ever get back. Like, you just feel it like one with the universe. Like, the ocean used to be a scary place that, the farther I got from shore, the more my anxiety got. And then you get to a sense where this is my home. This ocean is my home, not the land, the sea, and the creatures, and the motion of the ocean, and the sunsets and the sunrises, and being out under that canopy of stars that you can just actually feel like you can reach up and touch them. They're so close and they're so vibrant, and you see, you know, shooting stars everywhere, and just it's such an incredible peace and oneness with the universe that you just, you embrace it. And then there's the horror of the Pacific crossing. So I can't say that it's definitely that feeling all the time. When it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, it's horrid.
I can imagine. I mean, do you have these kind of things where you're like, Dan, you're the one that wanted to do this. You need to deal with that. I'm not.
Oh, I have gone into complete like turtle mode where I just shell up and I'm not even functional, like literally non-functional. Like he knows,
Wow.
but he's so competent. And there's so many people that solo sail around the world. I know probably 5 I could name today that are just guys out there just sailing around by themselves, and they do it. And there's so much technology on the boat to keep the boat running that once everything is going, there's not a lot to do other than look for other boats. So when I have my moments, that he just lets me be, and he's patient and he's tolerant, and he's probably the only man in the world that would still be with me right now, because I'm sure anybody else would have thrown me overboard by now. Like he really is going down in sainthood.
Gosh. Just curious. Do you believe in God, a higher power?
Oh, it's a huge, huge. Yeah, I wouldn't be here right now without my faith and knowing that I'm being taken care of and it's not in my hands anymore.
Yeah. So are you a Christian and believe
Christian, yes.
in the Bible? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Me
Yeah,
as well. Me as well. I there is no possible way I couldn't do it without. I couldn't.
Nope.
I get seasick. Okay. We grew up on the lake, going to the lake on the weekends, skiing, tubing, kneeboarding, all that fun, a little bit of fishing, all that fun stuff. But I cannot do the ocean very well. I get terribly seasick. I get car sick. I get motion sick. I'm a tough dude, but that stuff, I mean, oh gosh. You ever get seasick?
Yep. In fact, I haven't been seasick in a really, really long time, but the other day we were in a storm at anchor, and it was so awful and rolling in so many different directions and so turbulent that I actually got seasick at anchor, because it just was like not any consistency to the rocking and the rolling. And I'm just like, oh, Dan, I can't make dinner. I'm sick. I didn't actually vomit or anything, but I felt really horrible.
Yeah. How big, what's the length of your boat? And can you tell us, like, do you have a couple of bedrooms, or, a little bit of, like, about the boat?
So if you want to see pictures on sailmates.org, are actually pictures of the interior.
Yeah.
But it's 43 feet long, and I'm in the main cabin, which is in the middle. Okay. And behind me is our nice queen size bed, and we have our own bathroom and shower back there. And then forward is another Pullman berth with, no, actually, I don't think they call it a Pullman. It's a double bed. So my daughter and her 2-year-old and 4-year-old are coming to Tahiti next week, and they're going to stay with us for a week. And that will be their bedroom, and they have their own bathroom up front. And Then my galley is right behind me.
Cool. Hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to stop just real quick, do a quick commercial break, like 20, 30 seconds, and then we'll keep going. Okay?
Sure is.
Okay. This is kind of a new thing. I'm trying this. We're going to see how it goes. Yo, guys, this is T-Rock. I'm the alter ego of, the cool captain, Trent of the Conquerors crew. And I'm here because he's so nice and he won't say these kind of things, but this ain't a podcast. It's a pod blast. If you're fired up about this episode, if you like what you're seeing, hit the subscribe button. Smash it. Let us know. Leave a comment. And next week, don't come alone. Bring a friend, man. And tell people about the crew. All right. T-Rock, out. I never know what that guy's going to say sometimes. He's a bit of a nut, and he barges in when I don't even know. And I'm thankful that, he was PG today. So cool. God, what do your kids think about this? Mom and dad selling around the world. Do your friends think you're just lost it? Are you crazy? And, tell us about that.
Well, a few of them threatened to sink our boat so we couldn't leave. But other than that, we'll see. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, I lived on a farm in the middle of upstate New York, and I had no friends because we were out in the middle of nowhere. And I had 3 older boys in front of me, and my 2 sisters were gone. I spent a lot of time outside barefoot, and I was walking through the grass one day, and I had this vision of standing on a boat with sails, and we were flying across the water. I was just flying across the water. There's nobody else, just me standing on this boat being powered by sails. And I thought, wow, this is the coolest feeling in the world. Like, how cool would it be to sail around the world someday? And like as an 8 or 9 year old, I wasn't around any water. I didn't see sailboats. I don't know why I had this vision, but it was so lifelike. It was like being having a dream, but being awake. So fast forward to I'm in college, and my mom decided to become a competitive sailboat racer in on the Pamlico Sound in North Carolina, and I was going down to join her for a big regatta. And my cousin worked at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, and he worked next to this eligible bachelor who was a merchant marine and a 3-time national dinghy champion. So he brought him down to be a ringer on my mom's boat. So we spent that whole weekend together. We won the regatta, and we were sitting together. He's at a bar and having a drink, and he's getting ready to go back to Philadelphia. I'm getting ready to go back to Charlotte. And he goes, my dream is to sail around the world someday. I said, mine too. Let's get married. So we were married less than a year later on the lawn where we met at the yacht club. And my kids knew that story, and they always knew that someday it was going to happen. So it was just something that was inevitable, and everybody thought it would never happen. But as you can tell from this story, it did.
Hey, kudos to you. There are so many people in the world that, want to do this or they want to do that. And, they have a little bit of jealousy and envy that they just didn't, have enough guts or courage or get their crap together to do it. I mean, I traveled, around the world. I lived in New Zealand for 17 years. I worked in, 7 or 8 countries. I've been to 45 or something. But that's what I wanted to do. That was what I chose to do with my life, right? And if you chose to settle down and get married and have kids and do that, hey, good for you. I'm happy and glad that you did it. Because right, ultimately what we want for everybody is to be happy, right? I want you to find your happiness, right? And so, big props. Big props. Yeah. That's kind of a bit of a a pun, if you will. I guess big props to say to a sailor. The community that you're in with sailors. Do you guys is it kind of a common respect and that you're just kind of all friends and you all help each other out and that you do things that you just don't do for like even
In
your
normal life.
neighbor, right?
Yeah, this is an unbelievable community, and you have what's called a black box on your boat. And when every time you go and you help somebody, something goes in that box. And
Yes.
every time that you need something, somebody shows up and helps you. And it is so true. It's like we have helped so many people through so many crises, and people have helped us through so many crises. And we're in a harbor, and there might be 10 boats anchored out here, and they might be from 10 different countries, but there's no countries, there's no politics. We're all sailors, and we all know what everybody else has been through, and we've all worked our butts off and made sacrifices to be here. And we're all family. We're instant family. There's nobody that you won't see that just will not hug you the moment they meet you and is your best friend immediately.
That is cool. That's cool. I feel like it's kind of like that with people that motorhome around or
RVers, yeah.
yeah, motorcyclists. They kind of have that thing too, right? People that are in the service and things like that. Yeah, that's so cool. Anything about sailing or your trip or anything that you would like to share about that? Because I want to talk to you for a few minutes about that you are an author and that you're a writer, and I wanted to spend a few minutes about that too.
Well, it's a very difficult life, and people are like, well, I envy you, but you also have to understand the amount of pain and chaos. We got stuck for 7 months just recently. This a month ago, as we just started sailing again because of a broken engine part, and we couldn't get the part we needed to fix it. And we went to the U.S. because we had ordered it, and after we got there for 3 weeks, they go, oh, by the way, we don't have it. So we had to come all the way back to French Polynesia. We had to pull the part out of the boat, send it to Tahiti to get fixed. They had to order parts out for it once they got it and opened it up. and they had to wait for those parts. Then we had to wait to get it back. We put it in our boat. They didn't fix it.
Oh,
Didn't work. So then Dan had to take it apart and then order the parts himself. But meanwhile, we're on this remote island of Nukuhivu in the middle of the Marquesas, where when something flies in, there's not even an address on it. It's just a name. Like there's no addresses on this island. So shipping and everything is just really dicey. So when the part finally reached us back on our boat, and then he put it all back together, and then he put it in, and it finally worked, it took us 7 months
oh,
to get there.
my gosh. And, it's kind of like, well, who are you going to blame? Who are you going to be mad at? What are you going to, like,
No, you have to say, today I live here, and you make the best of every day with what you have, and you find ways to make yourself happy. We watch the sunset every night. We go out and we sit on that deck, weather permitting, and we have our happy hour drink, and we toast and we cheer. We're alive and love and afloat. And as long as we have those three things, it doesn't matter where we are. But we got to throw timelines out the window. We got to throw expectations out the window, and we got to be thankful for each place we're at and make the best of every day.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Tell me your 3 things again.
We're still alive, still in love, still afloat.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. I love that. The combo of 3, right? I have 3 pillars. You have the 3. It's 3 is a good number to have with stuff like that. So I'm just curious, what do you do when, you have 7 months of free time? What do you do with your with all that time? Do you get bored ever?
Well, there's always boat projects. We have a lot of those because it's not if something's going to break, it's when, and multiple things break. For instance, yesterday we went and dove under the boat. He had just fixed the air compressor to fill our dive tanks because we scuba dive.
Yeah.
And it had been broken for several months, and he finally fixed it. I'm like, wow, that's the last thing on the list of anything that I know that's broken on the boat. So we put on the scuba gear, and I go down underwater. I was first. I was all excited, and I look down, and there's a foot of our rudder missing. It's broken off, just gone. And that's like a huge deal. So now Dan has to go down and put clamps and stuff on it to make sure nothing else falls off. And we have to get to another island that can pull your boat out of the water, and he's got to fix the next thing. And it's just, and I can't even be upset about it anymore because it's just, as long as we get it done in time to get my daughter in 3 weeks, she's coming. That's all that matters.
Gotcha. I gotcha. What would you say, like work to pleasure, percentages? You think you're like working 70% of the time and enjoying kind of 30? Would that be kind of reasonable, or what would you say?
No, I'd say like 50-50.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know that, sailboats and RVs and things like that, they are a labor of love. You do it because you love it. You're going to spend money on it. And when you're done, you're going to have sunk, it's a money pit, and you're going to have spent tons and tons of money. And most likely you're not going to get what you paid for it unless you have this antique thing. And that's what it is. Right.
Right.
Dan can, he's like a nautical marine, like engineer kind of thing, and so he could fix any and everything on the boat.
Like I said, he's the MacGyver of the seas. He give him enough time and enough grok to look up things, and he can fix anything. And the parts are the issues. Definitely
right.
The issues.
I got you.
But I do spend a lot of time because I have a blog, and each place that we come to, I do photos and history of where we are, and background and stories, and talk about our outings and things. So I've got the blog, and then I'm always continuing to write. I'm getting ready to publish the 3rd book of our memoirs. I have Riding the Waves of Reality 1, which is Tales of Turmoil and Triumph, and that's selling the boat in the first 3 years. And then Riding the Waves 2, Mediterranean Mayhem and Magic, and that's the whole med. And then 3 is all the way up and crossing the Pacific, and Dan does all my editing and formatting and everything. And as soon as he gets finished with all the editing, then I'll have our 3rd memoir out. So between my blog post writing, I do social media posts and little stories with music to all of our little adventures, like, going to shore and having a fireside picnic with all of the boating people here. Like, I'll, make a video out of that. And I post those almost daily because I have children and grandchildren that are living vicariously.
Right.
So I have to show where we are and what we're doing, because like they'll call me and I will get my phone out and I'll go over and I'll feed the fish next to the boat and they'll just squeal and everything as they see. And then one day manta rays came up to the boat while I was on the phone with them and they got to watch these giant manta rays visiting the boat. And another time
Too cool.
dolphins were jumping and playing, up by the bow. So, um, they're living vicariously through me and they're learning about geography and places and cultures and things. So I have to actively do that. I feel like it's my second job.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like the teacher part of you is coming out and it's still,
Yes, it
that's in there.
is.
So that's really cool. But I was looking on Amazon where that's where all your books are available, right? On Amazon. And you have like 15 plus books. You write fiction and nonfiction and children's books and all sorts, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just published a children's book about a mermaid. And when I was in French Polynesia, I got a tattoo of a mermaid and a dolphin.
Oh, how cool. Now, do you happen to have any of your books, like any of the books covers like handy and you can just hold them up, and
I thought about that. I thought, I should have my books in case somebody ever wants me to hold them up. And I didn't bring them out today. But AlisonGieschen.com has all of my books with links to all of them.
Awesome. Perfect. I feel like we're kind of winding down and definitely, want to give you the last word and we'll go over kind of the website and how to contact you and that stuff in a second. Anything else that you would like to share or tell people about sailing or your life or your writing or anything?
Well, my husband just showed up because he was eavesdropping. And so they're seeing my mermaid book. And there's a sequel to it. Marlin, who is a boy in her story, who has his own book now.
Okay.
And then, I wrote this really cool book called The Seven. It's about the fate of humanity. But horses are the judges, and it comes from 7 different places around the world. But it's all research. Like every culture is real. All the facts about the people's occupations are real. So you learn about 7 different places in the world as you get wrapped up into the plot.
Yeah.
And here is my first Riding of the Waves, a book of reality. That's a photo I took in Mediterranean. No, I don't know.
Cool. Super cool.
And then here's number 2.
Okay. Yeah.
And number 3 will be out soon.
Awesome.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Captain Dan.
I know Captain Dan is like right there on the street. Does he want to just pop in and say hi and, so we can see what this awesome, miraculous man looks like?
He's going to put a hat on. No, he will. He's got to put a hat on first, though, because his hair is a little unkempt.
No, hey. This is a big podcast. There will be millions that are going to watch this, so we want Dan to look
just come say
perfect.
hi. You're famous now, honey. My boat MacGyver.
Hey, Captain Dan. I gotta say, you just sound like a remarkable man, and can fix anything, and cool and patient and adventurous, and you're such a good partner to Alison, I can tell, and cool, man. I'm just glad to see you and meet you, and hey, you guys got balls of what that a lot of people just can only dream to do. So super cool, man. I love that you guys are following your dreams. And really doing it. Yeah, it's really neat. Nice to meet you, sir.
Say nice to meet you, too.
It's very nice to meet you, too.
He doesn't have earphones on, so he couldn't hear a word of that.
Okay. No worries.
My lips thinking. Lip reading.
I could barely hear what he said, but hey, super cool. Thanks for him. That's kind of cool. You got to pop on and cameo there with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his first podcast that he's done.
Well, good for him. So, then he didn't have to worry about being nervous and everything beforehand. He just kind of got thrown in the mix there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Your books. Do you have a favorite book? A most popular book? Tell us a little bit about the books.
Well, my personal favorite is The Seven because it came to me in a dream. And I still, unfortunately, take care of horses every night in my dreams. I'm feeding them, taking care of them, throwing them hay. They're getting out. They're running away. And one night I had this dream, and I didn't know the horses. And what was really weird is I could tell they could see inside the hearts of humans to see if they were good or if they were evil or if they appreciated the gifts of the earth or if they didn't. And when I woke up, I said, Dan, these horses came and they like gave me this message. I'm like, I have to write a book about this. So the 7 was divinely inspired, and I just feel it kind of touches on humanity and it pulls all humanity together. Because in this life, all humans are the same. Doesn't matter what country you come from, what your background is, who you are, who you've been. Just matters, that we're all humans, and that's what the essence of this book is.
Yeah.
So that's my personal favorite. Cool. But Riding the Waves of Reality 1 has been doing really well, and it's more popular than 2, and I don't know why, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So
all good.
But I think 3 is going to be the best because it has all the adventure in it. 3 is going to have all these the Chinese fishing fleets and the almost getting stuck out at sea. And then the moment we arrived in the Marquesas, a tsunami was coming and we had to go back out to sea. They kicked us out of the harbor and made us go back out to sea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
So it's filled of, with that kind of drama. It's not a book that's going to, I think, be pretty popular.
Cool. Super cool. They're all available on Amazon, guys. Okay. And if you Googled it on Amazon, the links are always in the description, and any post, any clip, anything that I do in relation to this, the links will be the link to your website and the link to Amazon where your whole collection of books are. I think you gave me that, or I found a cool view in Amazon that I have for a link that shows basically all the books that you've done. So wow. We'll make sure.
If you want to see my daily stories, because like I said, I do something almost every single day. Facebook, Sailmates, and Instagram, it's Sailing Equus.
Cool, guys. And hey, just so you know, I always like to do this. Alison's website, the nautical novelist, is Alison Gieschen. Gieschen. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
.com. But let me make sure. I want to make sure we spell it correctly so people can get it. It's Alison, okay, with one L, Alison, and then the last name GIESCHEN.com. Okay, guys. So it's Alison Gieschen, and say it right that time. And Alison Gieschen, Alison with an L, and the last name GIESCHEN.com. I think she has the links to her YouTube there and her books, and if you want to get in contact with her and all that.
And also there's a find our ship on there, so you can click on that and it'll give you the satellite image of where we are in the world.
Perfect. Awesome. And guys, I always say this, that if you want to get in touch with Alison, you have to make the first move. Okay. You're the one that has to take a minute, put a couple lines together, and message her if you would like to talk to her about something, because she can't read your mind and she doesn't know. And I know that if you contact her, that she would love to, reply back and answer any questions or thoughts or whatever that you have for her. I have no doubt that she will meet you where you are. But guys, you got to make the first move because we can't read your mind. Okay. Anything else, Alison, before we just wind this baby down and I take us out?
I think that's it. But if you ever want to come be a crew member on our boat, we got a berth for you.
Cool. Now, are you saying that to me, or are you saying that to the audience?
Well, it depends. If they're seasoned sailors and they want to do a crossing with us, we'll always not turn down a competent sailor.
Fair enough. That's super cool. Guys, just real quick, a commercial or two here. Hey, next week we have on Sarah Hathaway. Okay, she's from East Texas. She's an author, and she does self-defense and anti-kidnapping seminars. So if you're into that stuff, that's next week. And in a few weeks, we have Frank King that he wrote for The Tonight Show for 20 years, 4 years comedian, 14 TED Talks. He is going to be on in a few weeks. Tom Cronin, he's well known in the speaking community from Australia. known as the King of Calm. And then we have Dr. David Lemon that's coming on. I know Dr. David. I'm kind of friends with him. He's a naturopath. He's a professional certified doctor, and he focuses in cancer, and he's the creator of the 7 pathways of cancer healing. So just a little preview of what we have going. Alison, anything else? And we're out. Yeah.
That's it.
Guys, hey, as I always say, God bless, Godspeed, and never forget that grit don't quit. We are